Okay, so recap number 3, something like that. All right, so this is our finishing up of our third official week here in Montana, working with Livingston and Expedition Church. So this week's been actually really busy. So for starters, we had our first team here stay with us here at The Way, which is the Christian school we're staying at during the summer. They were actually from Georgia, so they are Sonoraville Baptist Church out there in Calhoun, and they were awesome. They had about 19, 20 people with them, and it was super cool to hang with them. They were super nice, really just a blessing to us. I didn't get to work with them as much as Jalen did, but they were incredible. We actually got to go to Yellowstone with them later in the week, which we'll get to, but so we started the week really kind of off slow. We went to Holbrook. There was a wedding for a church member with Expedition that was getting married, and so we were doing some work at Holbrook to kind of help set up for that. And then we kind of broke for lunch, and then me, Jalen, and a team from Mississippi, actually, they're Fairhope, Mississippi, we went and worked with them to help deliver and move a washer and dryer. Actually, we moved out 2 washers and a dryer, and then donated and gave this guy named Levi, who's got a really cool story, which I'll get to in a minute. But he's got a disability called I think it's MS or something like that. Something that makes his mobility and speech kind of really difficult. Had it since birth. And anyways, he didn't really have any affiliation, but he heard of Daryl and Expedition, and so he reached out because he knew he couldn't do it. He needed a new washer and dryer, so we donated that and moved that in on Monday. And he'll come back into the story later. But Levi really doesn't know the Lord. When we got there, we one of our guys from Mississippi, his name was Gage. He did a fantastic job talking with Levi. After we kind of were cleaning up, the house is a mess. I mean, it's not the best. I mean, there was trash everywhere. So the guy's story is that he kind of got the house after somebody else, and they just kind of left all their junk. And I mean, of course, he can't move it. I mean, he can barely move himself. So it was just really hard. And I mean, his story kind of, what he led on that day was, he was brought up, you don't ask for help if you can do it. And if you can't do it, you better figure out how to do it kind of deal. And so he really hates asking for help. And that's how he was brought up all his life. So he doesn't ask for help unless he absolutely needs it. And so, I mean, it was really just a great way to start a connection, which is what we're all about. I mean, this was kind of the first time I got to kind of see what Daryl was talking about, because, I mean, we're here for 2 months. It's really hard to make relationships and share the gospel in 2 months that are meaningful, right? So this kind of helped us put into view what our jobs here were, which was kind of like, we're not here to just tell people about Jesus straight out, like, hey, here's the gospel, right? Are you running to get saved kind of deal? It's hey, we're here to help establish and maintain and, cultivate new and ongoing relationships that the Expedition Church and the members of that church already have, right? And then build upon them so that they can take those relationships to the next step where they can, present the gospel to these people and hopefully see salvations. Because, I mean, these people have real lives. Like, they have jobs, and they don't always have the time to hang out with these people or serve them like we do. So that's kind of our job. But Levi is a really cool case. He actually had a roommate. Her name was Rachel. She's got a really deep story too. But to keep it short, Expedition actually has helped her in the past between being homeless, her husband getting into drugs, and then going to jail, and then her being homeless again, and losing a baby after 2 months. It was a rough ride. Levi somehow got in touch with Rachel along the way. She had lost touch with Expedition. Or rather, Expedition lost touch with Rachel, and Levi opened up his home to her just because that's apparently what he does, to get her off the streets. And so when Daryl heard about that, he kind of beelined over to Levi's house and was able to talk to them for a little bit. But this kind of interaction that we had and that Gage from Mississippi had with Levi and Rachel that day would really set the playing field for what happens later in the week. But that was kind of all on Monday.
Yeah.
Tuesday came around, and this is actually the first time that we really actually did like hard work. And this between Tuesday and Wednesday, we were wore out, right? We worked all day long. Actually, we didn't work together at all. Actually, we split up. So that morning, I went to the fairgrounds, which is where they do the rodeo. They had actually called Daryl and asked for help because their grounds team just couldn't keep up with the landscape, and it had gotten so out of hand. So we showed up with the absolute work machines that is Fairhope, Mississippi, and we knocked that stuff out in a few hours. Like, it was crazy. I didn't even get a chance to really do much because I was too busy being the, back and forth guy, going to and from the Ace Hardware, getting them stuff and stuff like that. They actually ended up buying us a riding lawnmower to use later in the summer, which is incredible. Yeah. So thank you, Fairhope, Mississippi. You guys are absolute goats. We appreciate you. But while I was doing that, Jalen,
I was working with the Sonoraville team. They are the best. He said it earlier, but so we were working at the Outpost, which is also where they'll be having the Cowboy Church at eventually.
Officially.
Yeah. And so we were working there. We were doing two different projects. So we were putting some shelves up in Daryl's. It's like an office type of space. So we were putting some shelves up in there, and then we were also planing some wood for like no, it wasn't baseboard. It was like window panes or like window seals or something that. We were planing some wood for that. It was a really good day because I learned a lot from the Mississippi team. They were so from the Georgia team. Yeah. They were so willing to like teach me and so patient.
You learned how to do a planer.
They were so cool. It was so cool. So that was basically what we did. Yeah, that's what we basically did at the Outpost that day. It wasn't simple, but it was like, I had like instructions. This is exactly what we're doing. And they already got it started by the time I got there. So they were kind of already in the process, and I just jumped in like, do y'all need anything? Just, yeah. And I was also able to learn how to work planer. So that was really fun.
So, and then that was Tuesday. And then we fast forward to Wednesday morning. Daryl gets a call from Levi, Gage, and me, and Gage and I had actually offered and kind of mentioned to Levi that, like, hey, we've got a dump truck that we can bring over and we will help get rid of all this trash, right? Like, it was a ton. Like, it was all in the yard. I mean, we ended up, and this is like a legit dump truck, like the whole bag just, right, kind of deal. It was really cool, actually. But so he calls Daryl and is like, hey, I don't want to be a burden, but can you, kind of basically asking us if we would come over and do that. Well, little did he know, we also had a fridge for him because his fridge had stopped working. And then we also found out that his deep freezer stopped working 3 months ago a year ago.
Yeah, that was the Mississippi team bought that, didn't they?
Yeah, Mississippi team found a used refrigerator that worked. And we were able to bring that over that morning and surprise him with that, and he was super grateful. And through that day, as we, which it was actually part Mississippi team, part Sonoraville, we split up again, actually. Mm-hmm. So I was with Levi, and I got to see Levi turn to this kind of closed off, I'm not really interested in hearing what you have to say, to, holy crap, these guys are awesome. Like, they're just doing, I'm not paying them. And they are getting down in the mud and the muck that I lived in, and they're helping me out of it. And and I say it that way not because he said those words, because he really didn't speak much, but I could see it in his facial expressions as we started to uncover things and we ended up taking 3 to 4 dump loads to the transfer station that day, and we found Gage, dude. Again, he's just a great kid. I mean, he is dope. I mean, he was a young guy. Early 20s, I think, almost maybe our age. Yeah. But he is just a workhorse, man, dude. He is a one-man machine. Like, it is insane. But he also was really, really personal with Levi. And it got to the point where Levi was taking pictures of what we were doing and sending them to Rachel. Rachel ended up calling, and that led to another conversation that Daryl beelined here to the house for. Rachel wasn't there this time, but he was able to reestablish a connection with Rachel. Yeah. And Rachel ended up basically ended up saying like, I really need to consider. The Lord's been putting it on my heart to really consider him again. I think there really is something to it. I just need to talk to Daryl.
Yeah.
And Daryl showed up like 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
And he was like, hey. And so they set up an appointment. And so they'll be meeting. So hopefully that'll lead to, if not Rachel getting saved and baptized, Levi too. Like it was really cool to see because he was taking pictures and I mean he really was kind of talking more. And so I'm hoping that connection that we've now fostered will allow Daryl and the rest of Expedition team to really kind of go in depth. So that's what I did for that morning, right? And then what did you do?
So I was at Levi's for a little bit on Wednesday, but after a little while, I knew that I was going to be going to another place. I know I wasn't going to be at Levi's for that long. So Daryl shows up and he takes me to the middle school actually, and the Mississippi team, they had already been there doing a little bit of painting. So they were
Sonora.
Yeah, they were painting the office and then the front office, and then also painting the like break room. So they were working on that. I showed up. I just started. I was like, it was not easy, but it was just like taping off parts that we didn't want to get paint on, obviously. So yeah, and then I started painting. So it was pretty simple, dry cut. It was like,
but little things are just making those connections, right? That's what this whole thing has been about. It's just like, hey, we're going to offer our service no matter how small or minute it is. Every little bit is just a foot in the door, inch through inch, until we meet them. They have a crisis and they know they can call on Expedition Church because they know we'll be there. And in those moments, that's what really opens the door for the gospel to be presented, not just through our actions like before, but also physically to them, and they're more willing to hear it.
Yeah,
so.
And there was also there was an administrator and a principal there at the time actually. And somebody from the Mississippi team. I was like somewhat paying attention because I was like in the room next to them, so I somewhat heard the conversation they had. And a girl from the Mississippi team, woman from the Mississippi team, she was able to give the principal like a mini Jesus, and that's like not that big of a deal, but also like that might be a big deal. Like that might lead to her questioning like, I don't know if she was a believer or not, but that might lead to questions about Jesus. And yeah, they were really grateful, and like you could tell that they were like, you could tell that they were affected by what we were doing.
So and then that was all Wednesday morning, right? And so obviously, like every Wednesday, it's also farmers market, but that happens later in the day. That went awesome. We've got it down to a science now, as far as parking goes and what we're doing to help the vendors and just kind of interacting with people while we're there. It is a great way for us to kind of wear the Expedition shirts and people to be like, why are you here kind of deal, because we're like all in orange vests, and that's not normal to a lot of these people because we've never done this really. They've never done anything like this in the past. It's really a good. That's probably one of our highlights, one of our major key things to really show the community, hey, we're here, because it's I think they ended up doing the count, and it was like 3,400 people. Jeez, and that's not including like vendors, and I mean that's like like it was a ton of people, right? And like when you average in how many per car, I mean it's upwards to 5,000 people, which is like, if not a third, like half of Livingston, because like Bozeman is a big city for them, and that has 50,000 people or something like that, and it's like, right.
It also was really cool to see Daryl. Like there was one car that pulled up, and Daryl was like, she's gonna need help, because like he was telling me a little bit about her story. It was really cool because like he didn't even see the lady, he just saw the car and was like, yeah, we need to go help her. So
Daryl's just got this thing about him, man.
He's so personable, and like he like literally is so intentional with his time,
and it's instantaneous. Literally, there's no hesitation.
Yeah, absolutely.
Cool. Watching Daryl has really encouraged me, and really, honestly, challenged me to kind of reevaluate how I am with people. I'm like, it's not about always just like, hey, do you know Jesus? Let me tell you about him. It's or even arguing with people who don't know Jesus. It's not about that. It's all Jesus really came and served and met the people's needs before he told them anything about them, right? Like and that really has been put into perspective. And I mean, just it is a church full of missionaries, not a church full of churchgoers doing programs. Because they don't do events. They look at what the community already has and they go. right?
Yeah.
And they're intentional about it, and that is something to definitely reevaluate. So, but after that, I mean, that was our work. We got to go to Yellowstone on Thursday with the Sonoraville. They are so cool.
Yeah.
And then yesterday we got to go up to Pine Creek Falls and hike up that, and that was super cool. Like, I've seen some pretty cool waterfalls, but that one was insane. So, all in all, super great week, super busy. We actually have a team from Texas coming in tonight.
A high school team.
Yeah, they're a high school team, which is wild. It'll be our youngest group that we've had. Super excited. They're bringing 26 people. So not only is it the youngest, but it's also the largest.
Yeah.
So be praying for us.
Please.
Be praying for Levi and Rachel and Daryl and Joel as they are, leading the charge. There's spiritual warfare everywhere. It is dark. The Butte is dark. Y'all remember that. Josh actually had some updates for us. It was really great. They're thinking about closing on the commercial site, which is amazing. I can't wait to see what God's going to do. So be in prayer for that. We love you guys. Thank you again for y'all support, and we'll see y'all next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.